All right, guys. Good afternoon, gentlemen. Thank you for taking your time. Let's go ahead and get started with today's POC. Today's focus will be particularly on emerging bilingual students, particularly in our Algebra 1 class, and how we can help them achieve and succeed throughout the year.
Good afternoon, Mr. Cerda.
Yes, good afternoon.
So here's where our data from last year comes into effect. So last year we had 24% of our emergent bilingual male first-time students meet or mastered standard in Algebra 1 compared to 46% of our general population. That's a 22% gap that we need to see how we can achieve and fix.
That's a
Mr.
big problem.
Cerda, when you put numbers next to each other, that hurts.
Yeah, and that's why we're gonna focus on a small problem of practice, which is laser focus on specifically on our emerging bilingual. So if we can move on that emerging bilingual group, especially our males, since that's where our gap is mostly at, we'll see the ripple effects across our whole campus.
I agree. I agree. They're capable, but the language barrier is just what's holding them back.
Yeah, I think so too, because it's not really a math issue. It's just the words and how the problems are framed, vocabulary, things like that.
Yeah, right. I mean, I did have some interviews with our students. So students said that they can do the equations, but once they see the word problems, it's too much text, too much reading for them. So they freeze during the STAR exam.
Yeah, I had that happening to me last week. A student was fine with the slope intercept form, but the minute the problem said the rate of change of a car speeds, he shut down. He didn't know what to do.
Yeah, the same in my class. Like sometimes they just skip the entire question. If it's a word problem, they just skip it.
Yeah, I mean, and that's why one of our things that we were really gonna focus on is rewriting word problems with simpler syntax. In other words, we're gonna try to focus on regular versions. We're gonna scaffold the problems and try to water it down as much as possible. Like maybe focusing on certain keywords or any phrases that can help our emerging bilinguals succeed.
Yeah, I like that, Mrs. Zeta. That's a good idea. That's a good approach. I've done it on the fly. For example, instead of rate of change, I'll just say goes up the same each time, and suddenly the student gets it.
Yeah, yeah. When you're communicating in those little simpler phrases for them, yeah, it's same thing. They kind of go like, "Oh, that was it." Oh, okay. And yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, so exactly. So today we're going to look at which strategies have worked, such as maybe think right per shares, anchor charge, our station rotations, our scaffolding our problems, and deciding how to embed them consistently across the classes. What do you guys think? Does that sound good?
Yep.
Definitely, yes.
Yeah.
That sounds
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. Let's get into that.
All right, so let's start with something simple. Maybe our think right per shares. So our focus is if we do think right per shares, maybe we predict if we use it consistently, our EB students can gain confidence, and maybe the data can back it up next year. Maybe exit tickets can grow from 75% to 85%. Plus, sometimes we can do surveys and maybe see if 80% or more of our students feel more confident in explaining math by using think right per shares on every day in class.
Yes, that was my class. I used it three times per lesson, and at the beginning, middle, and end, and students seem to like it.
Yeah, my class seemed to be a little bit different. I started like that, but then eventually I was using it a little bit less, just once per lesson, because it just felt like three times was a little bit too much, and at least for me, I was losing pacing.
Yeah, I mean, fair point. That's why I'm suggesting maybe change it to two times per lesson. one during the we do, and then the other one during the I do. That way, they still get the structured peer interaction, but we don't lose a lot of time trying to do three or four, maybe more discussions during the whole class period.
Yes, that works. That's true.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I can start that.
Great. So one of the action plans is one, we're gonna focus on using our Think Right Pictures twice per lesson across our algebra classroom. So it only won't be us three. We can share it out throughout the whole department and maybe get everyone involved. That will give our EB students a consistent experience, and regardless of whatever teacher they are, they'll get used to it, and we can get the students conversating and maybe learning from each other.
And should we track it with exit tickets again?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, exit tickets would tell us if the strategy is making an impact, such as maybe asking them a quick question based on the lesson, and maybe they can relate back to those discussions they had with their peers and teammates and see, like, oh, okay, I remember how to do this now. Um, and another thing that I do want to focus as well is anchor charts. Uh, One of the things is I want to be able to get the students to make anchor charts and then present them to the class. Maybe by using the anchor charts, 80%, maybe 80% of our kids can gain mastery from it. And maybe later on the test, hey, maybe we'll get 90% of our EB students saying, yeah, they like anchor charts, or no, they don't like anchor charts.
Okay, I know I've done those in my classroom, and I mean, they show that they really like them. I mean, they love them. So like once they get over that initial hesitation, right, especially at the beginning of the year, they don't really know each other. But once they get past that, they really like it. You know, they're having them present them like at the end of classes, and it's a good way to to change it up, especially on the way out.
Yeah, mine too. They seem to like it. The colors and the visual helped. A lot of times they want to express themselves and they want to show that they mastered it. They'd actually look at the chart the next day and then we would review it.
So I propose Mondays, as we can use Mondays as anchor charge day, especially since that's the beginning of the week. The weekend has passed, and maybe we can create an anchor chart, either talking about what we're gonna see this upcoming week, or hey guys, let's create an anchor chart what you did last week, and then let's present it to the class, and that way we'll get the students to basically reference what they've done, and then we can leave the charts up all week. And that way, maybe they can start seeing it consistently and be like, oh, okay, I remember that.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think I can commit to that. Another thing that I noticed is that when you leave anchor charts up in the wall, and on the day of the test, they actually look at the wall and they stare like if the anchor chart is there because it's a photographic memory.
Yeah, exactly. It really helps them out. I can bring one of the sample ones I have to our next PLC from some of the ones that the students made, so we can set the expectation like that.
Okay, so perfect. We agreed on think right per shares, moments per lesson, and then on Mondays we'll dedicate that as our anchor charts day. So let's go ahead and get all this together and implement these two things with our AB students.
Yes, because if we don't structure it right, it becomes side conversations, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. That's true. Some of the students, we know who they are. They'll start to talk, and but we gotta, push them to make sure that they're on task.
Yeah, exactly. So let's think how to make this an effective strategies that we can use for our EB students in the classroom. First, let's go ahead and think how we're gonna face it out. And of course, it needs to be scaffolded in the whole instruction and making sure that all the students interact. And if something is too complex, we don't want them to freeze. We want them to enjoy doing this type of stuff.
Yes, yes. For example, like when asking, what is the slope of the function described in this scenario, I might say, look for the part that tells us how it goes up or how it goes down each time.
Yeah, exactly. The simpler the better. That way it lowers that barrier of the language barrier.
Perfect. I mean, this maybe will get the students to writing something like uh something simpler where sometimes they'll just write a number because that's just the way they understand it better, and they don't have to go through the whole process of having to do everything in the complex way and having to read the whole problem. And maybe something like sentence stems. I know they use that a lot in the English class, but maybe we can create that into our own structure and apply it.
I use sentence stems a lot. Okay, for example, the slope is, and then I would leave a space, like a little blank, because blank. That forces them to connect vocabulary with reasoning.
That's true. The one I use is the graph goes and each time so that the rate of change is, and when they're answering that, or they say it themselves, of course.
Perfect. That's exactly the kind of scaffolding that we got to get involved in our classroom. Um, so our next focus here is our think right pressure. This is where our EB students are going to gain the most, but only if we put them with a right partner that is going to be supportive with them and not just going to give them, hey, here's the answer. Here you go. We need to make sure it's intentional for them.
Yeah, one practice that I follow is I normally pair a strong bilingual student with an EB learner. That way, if the EB learner student freezes, the bilingual student can actually translate or guide.
Yeah, I've done that. I've done that as well. But sometimes I do the random pairs, either through markers or something. And I've noticed that the EB kids, they do better with someone that they trust. So that's worked out for me.
Yeah, so maybe we set a norm. Our EB students should be paired with a peer who can model vocabulary, but won't dominate the whole conversation that they're having.
Yes, I can make that adjustment. I already keep a seating chart that notes language levels, so pairing them strategically isn't going to be that difficult.
Yeah, same for me. I know that when I circulate, I'm checking to make sure that both seat partners are speaking, um, and that way to make sure that there's not just a kid like nodding and the other person doing all the talking. Make sure they're both participating.
Exactly. I mean, we gotta hold both partners accountable. Maybe give a student a specific role, one that explains and the other one summarizes. That way we can get everyone involved. Okay. So let's go ahead and summarize our plan of action. So one, we're gonna scaffold our think prompts with simpler syntax. Two, we'll provide sentence stamps during the think right per share. We'll pair EB students strategically, and then we'll assign roles during the share process.
Yes, sounds good. That's clear.
Yeah, start it tomorrow.
Good. Now let's pivot into the anchor charts. Remember that throughout our process, when EB students create and present the charts, we want to make sure that we try to achieve 90% of them saying, hey, yes, we enjoy this. Yes, I'm learning from this. Yes, I would like to keep doing this.
That's huge. And honestly, I think it's easy to implement.
Yeah, it is pretty easy. They enjoyed it as soon as they saw it. Because it wasn't just like copying notes. Something different, something that they really owned.
Perfect. So the question is, how are we going to standardize our anchor charts and expectations? Do we let students design freely, or do we provide a structure or a rubric or something that we're going to be able to, hey, they achieved this out of that?
Definitely a structure sounds better. A little structure will be nice because if we just say make a chart, they'll start drawing random stuff. I usually require the word. I usually require several things, like for example, the word, the definition in their own words, and an example problem, and a little visual that represents what we're talking about.
Yeah, same thing in my class. I'll even sometimes tell them, okay, you got to put a sentence using the word or something like the slope is 2 because it goes up 2 for everyone. Something that shows that mastery of that content.
That's great. So our anchor chart checklist is our term, our definition in a student in their language, an example of the problem solved, a visual representation, and then maybe a sentence using the word.
Yeah, that keeps it focused.
Yep. Especially like you said earlier, like once they look back at it during a test and they know exactly what's expected of them and they can recall some of that information.
Perfect. So now about timing. If we do this every Monday, do we dedicate it the whole class to it or just part of it?
No, 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 not the whole class. I think just the first 20 minutes is enough. Then we can apply it in a practice problem.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, the full class might be too much and it'll lose that novelty. So,
Okay, perfect. So 20 minutes at the start of every Monday's lesson. We're gonna make try to focus on anchor charts.
And should we display them on the walls too?
yeah, I think so. Like I said, I have some of mine posted up. And the students they love getting up there and seeing some of their own work up on the walls as opposed to some poster I put up there.
Yes, perfect. Let's go ahead and make it a campus norm. Let's go ahead and get everyone involved in the math department. It can be used anywhere, such as Algebra 1, Algebra 2, SLM, any sort of subject. So anchor charts, the main thing should be created in the student centered and for them to be able to be visible and used at the same time. So let's let's try to tie our anchor charts to assessments now. So for example, before a quiz, I can ask a student to review the anchor chart wall for 5 minutes, then quiz them without notes. Maybe we can do it like how we said, put them outside. Hey, do a quick gallery walk outside, go check it out, come back in, let's get ready for the quiz.
That's true. That's a good idea. That reinforces the value of charts as a tool.
Yeah, absolutely. For all students, but especially the EB students, the ones that don't study at home so much, sometimes because they don't know how, that'll really be a big help.
Exactly. Anchor charts can become their study habit now.
And since we're standardizing, students moving between our classes will see the same structure.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, especially with schedule changes and things like that, that consistency is going to be key.
So let's go ahead and lock in. Every Monday, the first 20 minutes, students create anchor charts using our checklist. We'll post them, reference them during the lessons, and review them before quizzes.
Done. Agreed.
Yeah, done. I'll bring that sample I talked about earlier. So they know it
Perfect.
feels good.
Now, before we move on to our next thing that I want to focus on is our station rotation. But any last thoughts on anchor charts?
Just one, just one, just one. I think we should also encourage students to add to their chart midweek if new vocabulary pops up.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes that vocab it sneaks in during some practice problems throughout the week.
Good idea. Let's keep Mondays as a base, but allow addition as needed. All right. So far, we built and structure our think right pictures and our anchor charts. Next, let's go ahead and change or shift a little bit onto something that has been used in elementary, and I would like to try it out in high school and see how it works out, which is station rotation. I know a couple of us had a couple of training in this, but maybe if we go ahead and try this, again, our goal is always 90%, and see if 90% of our EB students would like to try out this. But the question is, how can we make this work consistently?
Good, because I do like stations, but they can get messy.
Yeah, same for me. Like earlier we talked about, them getting off task. Sometimes the transitions, we want to make sure that they don't become too much of a waste of time.
Exactly. That's where we'll go next. All right. So let's dive into station rotations. Uh, if we test them, our EB students, do we predict that they're going to be more engaged and confident in the small groups? Or what do we think is going to happen?
That's powerful.
Yeah, I know they had mentioned, when they asked them, and I think they did have a lot of them that preferred the station rotations. So I think, a lot of them do like it.
Yeah, and again, I mean, it's all going to come down to the exit ticket. Uh, so in our exit ticket, we can either show the growth of the mastery, either by improving it 10% or just doing our usual direct instruction.
Makes sense. Yeah, they're less intimidated in a group.
Yeah, and now from the teacher end, obviously the challenge for us is it takes a lot of prep and a lot of well, just preparing to design stations that are really working and hitting everything we need them to hit with the vocabulary, the problem solving, to make sure there's no dead time. So it's going to be challenging for us, but it'll benefit the students.
Perfect. So let's problem solve that. What type of station have worked for you guys so far?
I've done three stations. One for vocabulary practice, one for decimals and graphing, and one for solving word problems.
Yeah, similar for me. I did add a peer teaching station. Especially for the EB students, they get to explain that to one another, and it just forces them to use our, the math language that's in the problems.
I like that. Peer talks is huge for our EB confidence.
Yeah, the tough part for me is timing. If each station is 15 minutes, transitions eat another 5 minutes more or less, and suddenly 55 minutes are gone.
Yeah, that is a similar problem here.
Maybe we can shorten the station rotation to 12 minutes each. That gives us 4 minutes per transition. 4 minutes per transition, and still leaves us room for a closure activity.
That's doable. And honestly, EP students don't need 20 minutes per station. They just need enough time to interact and practice.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, the little short bursts of information, that way it keeps them engaged.
Exactly. I mean, our research shows that EB students benefit from chunk learning in smaller repeated practice windows instead of long stretches um, that happen. So let's talk about what must be in their station for our EB students based on their cycles. One, visual support, anchor charts, graphs, manipulatives. Two, language support, sentence or word banks. Three, structured interaction, roles like explainer and check, situation.
Yeah, I also put vocabulary flashcards in my stations.
Yeah, I've used the word banks on the table, and it helps them as they're completing their sentences. Those word banks.
Perfect. That's consistent with our data. When our EB students have a word bank, the writer response improved by 62% and accuracy goes to 81%.
81. Wow.
Okay.
Wow, that's a big jump, Mr. Cerda.
Yeah, probably because of that scaffolding. It's proof that it works.
So what? We agree that every station includes at least one language support and one visual support. Do you guys agree with that?
Deal.
Yeah, I agree.
So the question is, how are we gonna assign the roles to better help our students? So, for example, partner A explains, partner B summarizes, and next station they switch. What do you think, Mr. Chow?
I like that. It forces participation.
Yeah, and then that could be something that's written so they can see it. You know, I can start writing the roles in the classroom station instructions for them.
Perfect. So now let's talk about frequency. Stations take more setups, so probably we cannot do them every day.
True. I've been doing them once every 2 weeks, more or less.
Yeah, my kids have been getting a little bit more used to it, so we're at about once a week.
So how about we standardize it at Thursdays or Fridays? That way it's neutral review and reach each day. Especially us in high school. Hey, maybe our prep plan these days can be our station rotation days. That way they review, they still get something going on, some sort of instruction, and they just remember everything that they've done throughout the week.
Yeah, and then that's perfect. That way, if a student's absent, also, those stations are a good place to catch up from their peers and stuff.
Yeah, I like Friday. It gives me a chance to catch up students who struggled earlier in the week and just bring it to a closure.
Perfect. So let's go ahead and call Fridays our station rotation days. So to make this work, we'll need a shared bank of station activities, vocabulary games, problem sets, graphing tasks. That way, we're not reinventing the wheel, and we all agree with the same thing.
Sure. I have some Desmos activities that I've used before, so I can share them.
Yeah, and I have some like vocabulary games, card matching things that I can contribute.
Perfect. Let's go ahead and get that Google Drive organized, and let's share our stations, resources with each other, and maybe the rest of the team as well. That way, they all buy into the system.
Mr. Cerda, another thought. Should we keep station structure consistent, like always 3 or 4 stations, so students know exactly what to expect?
Yeah, I know. I think so for my classroom. That consistency reduces confusion. It's the same every time.
Agreed. Let's come into three stations, one vocabulary base, one problem solving, and one application slash graphing.
Okay, that makes planning easier too. We just swap content each week.
Yep, exactly. It just works out like a template.
Yeah, and our AP students will feel more comfortable in structuring and being predictable. So to summarize this, station will be used every Friday. Three stations, vocabulary, one problem solving, application. Each station is going to include a language support and visual support. We're gonna go ahead and assign roles for accountability purposes, and then of course we're gonna share Google Drive resources with each other.
I'll upload it my decimal set this week.
Yeah, same here. I'll add those vocabulary games.
Excellent. That's real progress. And then to go ahead and talk about our last one, we're gonna go ahead and shift now from our think right pair shares, anchor charge, station rotation. Now we're gonna go ahead and just talk really quick about rewriting our word problems, which came up both in our fishbone diagrams and empathy interviews from our students.
Yeah, that's a big one. Students don't fail because of math. Okay, like we have mentioned before, it's just the wording. It's that barrier, that language barrier.
Yeah, exactly. You know, we know where they're coming from, and as soon as they see too much English, sometimes they even shut down before even trying.
Yeah, I mean, even the data backs it up. In our interview with a couple of our students, some said that the word problems is were the hardest in Algebra 1. And in practice, we scaffolding some problems. Maybe we scaffold, sorry, correction. We scaffold, maybe our EB students can get a sort of jump, maybe from our 62% to maybe 78 or 80%.
Wow, that's a 16-point gain just by changing how we phrase it.
Yeah, that's huge. big jumps.
So perfect. Let's go ahead and if we rewrite word problems, simpler syntax alongside the original versions, students can be more engaged instead of just skipping them.
I've tried this before, Mr. Cerda. For example, the original problem said the population of a town is decreasing at a constant rate. I wrote it as the town is losing the same number of people each year. Same math, just I mean clear words.
Yeah, exactly. On mine, with something like slope, I might say something like it goes down the same each time, and then they get to hear down and each, and hopefully that gets them immediately thinking about slope.
Right? It's not about learning a rigor. It's just about removing certain language as a barrier.
And when they saw the scaffolded version, they actually go back and try the original.
Yeah, exactly. It builds that confidence in them, like training wheels on a bike, and then eventually they come off them.
True.
Perfect. So let's go ahead and standardize this as well. For each major concept, we'll provide both the original TX level problem and then our scaffold version.
Should we each commit to rewriting a few problems per week?
Yeah, I think that could work. Maybe say just like 5 problems per teacher per week, and then that way we can build a big problem bank.
I mean, good idea. If each of us does five, that's 15 scaffold problems every week. In a month, we'll have 60.
Wow,
Yep.
that's enough. That's enough for a little mini practice book just for the EB students.
Yeah, exactly. And we can align it with our units, whether, after linear, then we go to quadratic systems, and then, we can have a bank for each one.
Hey, perfect. Let's go ahead and get that started with me with our quadratics, since that'll be coming up soon. And then, of course, our major focus can be our factoring quadratic expressions, which basically is one of our weakest areas every single year based on our data and our EB students as well.
Oh yes, factoring kills them, okay? Especially when the problem is written in context.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's hard enough factoring as it is, and then they see something like the area of rectangle is represented by the expression, and that's enough. They're done. You lost them at represented.
Perfect. So how are we going to scaffold that?
Well, instead of saying represented by the expression, I'd write the area can be written as, which is much simpler.
Yeah, or something the area is. That's even simpler. Cut a bunch of words out.
Perfect. Let's go ahead and strip away our with our academic fillers. And then, of course, another example is our original star problems, which equation based models the relationship between two quantities are described. Maybe scaffolding into which equation shows how two numbers are related.
Much
Yep.
more student friendly, definitely.
Yeah, that's something that the EB kids can handle. Without losing any of the math.
Okay, so here's the plan. Each of us contributes five scaffolding problems of a week, starting with quadratics. We'll store them into a Google Drive, the same illustration rotation activities, and continue from there.
All right, I'll start with factoring quadratic since that's where my students are the weakest.
Okay, I'll
Perfect.
take.
I'll go ahead and handle the rewriting our star release items into our scaffold versions.
Yeah, I could take the quadratic word problems. Like projectile motion stuff.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Caballero. Should we also include sentence stem in our scaffolded versions?
Yeah, I think so. Something simple like the equation that matches is, and then because that way they know exactly where their part is. That'll really help them out practicing not only the math but also the language.
Great point. Let's make that part of our template. Problem scaffolding version and at least one sentence stem. So, all right, guys. So we're coming up. So I just want to thank you guys. I mean, we had very great ideas. I'm very looking forward into creating our anchor chart with the students, using think right pair shares, and then of course making our hard problems into simpler. Hopefully, we can achieve success rate from our EB students and be able to increase that overall score and help our campus achieve the main goal of becoming an A campus. I just want to thank you guys for taking your time and doing this POC process with me. And I hope you guys have a great day. And thank you very much once again.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Excuse interruption. Any student that is a tutorial